Okay, so last night my wife got a new to her Tag Heuer link, a ladies, and as you can see, it's too big for her by quite a few um, links. As it turns out, it was by 4 links, but I originally take out only 3 links. And so you can see that whenever I size somebody's wristwatch, I always try to make sure that the buckle part in the bottom should be halfway through, halfway at the bottom. So here I'm just showing the watch and showing how there should be there's no screws that can be seen on the outside of the bracelet at all. And here you can see that it's all solid end links until you get to the buckle, at which there's a friction pin. And you can see both sides has a friction pin and on the other end as well. And so I'm just showing the S and Z link style, and very shortly there's the other pin on the other side. And so you just get your handy dandy little tool, your push pin tool. Of course, on the left there you can see the push pin tool, the black thing. And of course you could just get a little hammer and some sort of punch, some sort of micro punch. But for me, this is just the easiest way. These things are worth $10. You can get them on any sort of watch maker store. I can't even remember where I got these, to be honest. I think I have 2 of them. And I originally had a couple a long time ago, but for some reason the tip broke off and the replacement tip broke off. So then this time I bought 2, and I think I'm still my first one. So there you can see I've punched out the friction pin, and then I just grabbed this tool. I don't know what it's called. It's from Canadian Tire, just a hardware store, but I've ground down significantly the end pieces. There you go, I popped it out. Whatever grabs that pin, I've ground the metal down so it's not sharp whatsoever. And there you can see I've taken the first one out. And that part just falls off. The first part just sits on there. And there you can see I try and just put it back up to show it. And that's where it would meet the friction pin. And there's the little collar. So there's only comes with collars for the friction pin. All these little screw links don't have collars. They just have just a screw, as you'll see here. So it's a slot screwdriver and or flathead, and you can see I use the type of screwdriver I use. You're able to twist it or turn it without actually turning the entire unit, so I can put pressure on with my index finger and or my pointer finger. And there's the second link. So anyways, and then I turn the screwdriver so as not to move it. And I guess because I had the camera zoomed in so much here, I didn't realize it was off camera, so just bear with me for 1 second. I wanted to keep it, rather than edit it, rather just real time to show how fast it can be done, or relative speed. So there you go, it just fits right back in there. And when you do put that back in, the friction pin, or sorry, the collar, right there, you can see the collar. Okay, so I did put it in, but the collar goes in through there. And notice right there on the outside is where the sort of the groove on the friction pin is. You always want to have the groove on the outside, so it's one less. You don't want to pull that groove throughout the entire tube. You'd rather put the groove or pull the groove out as minimal as possible, and conversely put it in as minimal as possible. So here I just punch it in, and I go very, very gently, but if I need to, I sort of manipulate my fingers to with this one it went in really easily, but If it's a difficult one, you can just manipulate your fingers a little bit to sort of move the link around or the bracelet and to wiggle it in, so to speak. And so I don't ever punch it in all the way. You can see at the end, I'll show another clip where I have I have a punch that I've ground down. It's a hardened steel punch, and I use that to push the friction pin in all the way. I just use the hammer to sort of get it. I don't touch the links, so to speak, on the side, so I wouldn't mar the edges of the link at all. So there again, I'm just showing the process of pulling that out. And you just got to give it a good sort of that's one that was stuck, I guess. There, I got it out. I just had to do it off camera. And so see how the first one just falls right off? That one just sits on there, but it's attached at the other end. But once you take it out, or one screw out, the other one will just fall right out. So here, I'll unscrew that. And I use my fingers. Oh, that's why this one was tough, because there's a bunch of gunk inside that screw head, a bunch of dirt. And so this is why the bracelet should be sonic cleaned, is to get rid of all that stuff. And the next one that I take out wasn't like this, so that was the only one. And it just pops out. So then I think I take this one out as well. So it's really quite easy, and especially if this was a men's watch, it would be a lot easier because it's bigger. Whereas these little, I think the full dial is only 27 millimeters wide, so these are tiny little guys, and so it was a bit tough that way. So there goes the second link, and then I just put the collar pin in. There's the little collar for the friction pin. I put that in between the two SZ links. That's what I call the cell, or the link bracelet style, is the SZ, because if you look at them, one is an S and one is a Z. There's other names that they have, like just S, for instance, or like there's a couple other names. Anyway, so then you just pop the friction pin in with the groove in the friction pin closest to the outside, so you don't have to push that thing through the whole setup, just through the minimal amount. But you can see it doesn't go in very easily. So I just have to take my little piece of cedar and again just apply some gentle hammer to it. And again, I would never mar there you can see it sticks out just a hair, and I haven't touched the bracelet side. So then here, because they stick out, oh no, what happened, okay, so I did this one because in real time, so I tried it on her, and that's why I didn't need to punch in the friction pins as precisely, because first you want to try it on the person before you get any sort of finish on it. And so I tried it on my wife and at this point, and she needed another one out. So I just decided to do another video, but do it, without just trying to go as fast as I could, without trying to care for angles or just show anything. Just tried to, so for real time, so to speak, how quick and easy it is to change a link. And then the next seen, I think I tried it on with her and it fit her perfectly. So for each person, almost the perfect spot of the buckle underneath on the underside of the wrist is, the sweet spot, or where it's important to get the bracelet sizing right. So normally, I think that the 12 o'clock side, so the far side of the wrist, has more links on it than the one at the 6 o'clock side of the bracelet. However, with this one, when we tried it on her, because of the way the buckle worked, it would be better to have the buckle sort of on the side. You can see it's almost in the middle. It practically is, but it's a little bit toward the outside. So there's actually one bracelet or one link less. So there's 6 on the top side and 7 on the bottom side. But just the way it worked out with that, the clasp, that now see, this is the other problem she had with it, because we bought it secondhand from a reputable estate place, but that double locking folding clasp is a little bit loose. So all you need is a little Gerber. This is my multi-tool, and I use it for a lot of different things. It's not in my watch box, but it's right handy in my bedroom. So where I keep my watch box, so it's always around. But in order not to again mar the metal, I have lots of these little sort of polishing cloths, and I just put the cloth over top of the metal so as not to hurt the metal at all. And in here I sort of make little pinches up and down, but it didn't really work as best as it could. So it was a little bit too hard, and so what I did, not on tape here, but as I went all along, I see here I go sort of perpendicular to the clasp edges, but afterwards I went parallel right along the clasp edges and just gave the tiniest little squeeze, not much at all, and then it fits perfectly. So it's so easy. It's just because it's been used frequently enough that it's loose. And so you just got to give it a little tighten. And so here, now that I fit it perfectly, I punch it in. Just give it a little push in, little gentle push. You probably couldn't even tell that that one went in. This one I go in a little bit too far. There, you can see I went too far. So there, it's a little bit too hard for me, but she has nails. And so anyways, I did it a little bit better. We adjusted it, micro tweaked it, and that's pretty much it. So I'm just showing here that there's no edges. There's no screws showing. It's kind of hard to figure out how to put the links back together if you're adding links, for instance. So here I'm going to show that. So basically you get 2 of these, I don't know, they have an extra arm. And here you go. So you need 2, it needs to touch 2 pieces. So there, it touches that top one, and it touches the bottom one. So the right side link touches 2 pieces. You need to have 2 pieces touching it. And then you just screw that one in at the bottom. It's a little bit tough here to do, especially trying to get it for the camera. And you can see how small these little guys are, so it's a bit of a task. So there you go, I just flip it up the way it should be done. And then you can see here how I kind of just screw it. I put my pressure down on the top and then just turn. And so those are the best types of screwdrivers to get for watchmaking. And I think I learned that from Walt Odets, one of his posts back on Time Zone, after reading about that a long time ago. I think one of his watchmaking posts had that reference. So then you just get another left-hand piece right there with the extra arm. And you pop that through. And then the right-hand piece, the right side piece, has to touch two bars. So you can see it touches the top bar. If it focuses here, there it touches the top bar, just sits in there where the screw was for the previous one. And then it goes into that one as well. So it's all seamlessly integrated, and it's a really strong design. It's pretty neat. It's a pretty neat design overall. This one especially with the cell, the SEL. I've had an SEL before, and I've tried to. Back my first watch, if you go into some of my videos here, my first watch I had was an SEL, and I tried to adjust it, and to no avail, because I've seen it adjusted at the place where I bought this watch from, in fact, the same guy. And he has one of the old tools to adjust the cell. And it's a sort of gun, almost sort of like a punch gun, that I don't know what it does. It somehow puts pressure on something. And anyways, he can just punch it, and each link falls out really quickly. But what they did when they updated the design to a link is they've made it like possible without having a tool to adjust the bracelet at home, or anyone can do it. And so I think it's pretty neat that I think it's a very well designed bracelet that way. Another thing that I haven't mentioned in my previous videos is that the link has, because of the SZ combination, where the SZ's small points intersect with the next adjacent link's big points, right there's a lot of air space, it seems. As more modern links go, there's less and less airspace as the links are less and less rounded. They're more tapered and flat. But such as this one, this older one, this Jason Bourne sort of era of the numerals on the dial. On these ones, the cell or the link, the SZ style bracelet is more like a cell almost. It's more rounded. And anyway, so there's a lot of airspace between each link, and it ventilates really easily. And so, for instance, let's say a Bond bracelet is really comfortable. This one is, I would say tops. The only thing that it doesn't have, of course, is the micro adjust in the buckle, or any way to micro adjust whatsoever. So you're basically looking at full increments, or that's it. There's no half link. And so you just have to find a perfect fit. And with my link that I have now, the middle piece comes out, so even if you didn't get a perfect fit, you could still use a brace, or a strap rather. Whereas this one here, if you don't get the perfect fit, okay, so there, I put it back together because rather than have all little pieces flying around, I would just have that. So anyways,